George Kavassilas began having contact experiences in 2003 when he met with extraterrestrials from the Lyran and the Pleiadian star systems. He was made aware of the fractal nature of the universe. He has been taken on Australian and US secret space programs. He's in communication with a range of extraterrestrial civilizations and also with the source energy of the universe, and he has some stunning information about where we are heading today as a planet and the future revelations that are coming with disclosure.
You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Welcome back, George, to Exopolitics Today.
Hey, Michael. It's great to be back. What an exciting adventure.
Yes, it is exciting, but also very, very challenging. I mean, I've had a lot of people contacting me saying how they're experiencing a lot of difficulties, a lot of health issues, and a lot of kind of like almost like thought attacks. Like there seems to be this energy or vibration where all these negative thoughts come into people's brain and into their thinking processes. And people are having a lot of difficulty dealing with that. So what's going on?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. One message that I got from Mama Sophia, which is what I refer to as this womanly planet that we live upon, and entering into conscious relationship with that intelligence. The one thing that she has shared with me is that one of the main processes, the frequencies that we are marinating in, is to get people to really look at themselves, to turn inward and look in that mirror, the mirror of life, and to do that inner work, that alchemy, to literally address ourselves, to look at our shortcomings, to look at our strengths, and via our strengths and the acknowledgement of our strengths, to be able to go into our weaknesses, into our shortcomings, and our distortions, and inherited programs. So basically it's like this: those who deny or postpone or put off looking inward are going to be driven mad. It's called the madness. It's known throughout ancient times. And it's known throughout the cosmos that every time you have a planetary system that is now closing a cycle and is going into that metaphorical death process and then rebirthing, that in those last days, that anybody who doesn't look inward will be driven mad. And then the madness is expressed outwardly by those people who are driven mad. So we are genuinely seeing the psychosis of the old world order that is now crumbling. And the same thing is happening to us as individuals. If we refuse to look in the mirror, we will be driven mad. And it's our own insanity coming up, plugging into the collective insanity. So it's a bit of a double whammy, and it's really intense for a lot of people right now. So my recommendation is to unplug and go and be with nature for a little while, and you're going to see amazing results.
Well, actually, that's exactly what happened to me. I mean, I actually had a bit of a health issue going on, and I sought advice on that, and it just seemed to be getting worse. It was, just the thoughts, the negative thoughts coming in, making me think, the worst. And so, I was struggling a little bit there. And so I decided that I would just go out, paddleboard. I'm very lucky that I live right next to the ocean here in Key West. So I just paddled out, found a nice mangrove area that's totally secluded, and I just soaked in the mangrove in the water there for about an hour, just soaking. And I had a I guess you would call it, I mean, I think it was a healing experience, but I saw very clearly that part of my body that was really suffering, that was having difficulties. I saw it taken out of my body, and it was like washed. It was like I saw a very clear image of it being washed. So I attribute that to Yeah, yeah, whether it's the planetary spirit or the mangrove, the energy of the mangroves, because here the mangroves, they're really big. They extend all over the place. But yeah, I got a healing from nature, just from being in nature. And what I did, I resolved after that I would spend less time in front of the computer and more time on the water, soaking in nature or soaking in the water as much as I could. And yeah, and that healed me. So is that pretty much the way it's people can do it?
Yeah, exactly. It's really just by default. It's part of the structure of creation. The more we come into conscious relationship with the intelligence of this realm, now we're having interactions. So because of the way you're structured, Michael, and all that work that you've done on yourself throughout the years, and your ability to connect and see into other dimensions, because you can reach into other dimensions within yourself, and it's via that pathway we then reach into dimensions in creation. So yes, for me to hear that you had an experience like that matches with your energy signature and the man that you are. So, and that is just the beginning. There's a whole lot more that's going to come in relation to our conscious relationship with the realm. So people are going to start to see through dimensions. The veil's going to be thinning. The hairy people are going to be seen more often down the track. Crypto-terrestrials are going to come into our conscious awareness more, and on it goes. It's a very, very substantial evolutionary leap, not just for us as a species, but for the entire realm. And being a full universal fractal, our evolutionary leap here actually impacts the entire cosmos, all life.
Right. Now, the chemtrails that people have been reporting, and I've been able to see them here as well in Key West. They seem to be happening everywhere, and it seems that this is like part of that last push by the deep state, by the controllers, to kind of really suppress people and to slow down the planetary awakening. So is that what's going on with the chemtrails?
Okay, so the first point I want to make is we've got to stop calling them chemtrails. If you go to a government official and you write a letter and you use that word chemtrails, they're just going to call you a conspiracy nutter and not listen to you. The reason is because you're using the wrong title, the wrong label. Okay, so when they come back at you with you're a conspiracy nutter, that's because they're telling the truth, because you're using the wrong label. So it's particulate trails. The moment you switch from chemical trails to particulate trails, now you'll get their attention. If you use chemtrail, that's the misdirection. Whoever put that out, that's the misdirection. Stops all legal inquiries. Just that label. Boom. Okay, so particulate trails, yes, they are everywhere. Lucky where I live here, we don't get many at all. I'm lucky to see 1 in 8 months, I reckon, here where I live. So, but in the built-up areas, the more populated areas, definitely the particulate trails are being ramped up. There's different reasons. In the early days, it was more aluminium, beryllium, strontium, all these sorts of particulates. One thing that I learned very early on and I laid this out in Navigating the Crown Virus and the Empire of the Ants, right? One's a 8-hour presentation, the other one's 7.5 hours thereabout presentation. And I talked about the smart dust. See, in the 90s, they created the smart dust out of graphene, particulates, soon after the buckyballs came out. And I don't know why people want to put those in their bodies. It's the whole C60 thing that's been promoted. Why would you want to flood your body with graphene? It just makes you more susceptible to the frequencies. I don't get that. Anyway, I tried that stuff, and yeah, not me. If it's good for you, great, but I don't recommend it for our evolutionary process that we're in. We're coming out of all that high-tech stuff. Okay, this is big. Because when it comes to the smart dust, we have particulates that have been sprayed, constantly sprayed, continue to be sprayed. Even if you haven't had an injection or an anesthetic, because they're putting the graphene in anesthetics now. Go to your dentist, you get a shot. The graphene's going in, the nanotech's going in. So we're under siege by the technological intelligence god, which is level 2 in the 3 levels of imposition that I've been talking about over the years. And we're under that imposition. And so what is happening is our whole realm is being flooded with smart dust. The entire reality is being data mined. It's not just our keystrokes. It's not just facial recognition on a camera. No. It's way more than that. This whole realm has been flooded with nanotech. We're swimming in it. And the technological intelligence god is data mining the whole realm. Why? Because it wants to create a mimic. And all the people are being slowly but surely assimilated into the technological singularity. And it's going to get to a point where their consciousness, as they walk around, because their awareness is immersed and invested into the technological singularity, the two are overlaid, and then all of a sudden they find it hard to tell what's reality and what's not. And all the people that have been assimilated into this technological singularity are all the ones that look out and see a hologram, a computer simulation. Just listen to the way they're talking. And then when they're talking about accessing universal knowledge, they all talk about, oh, I've got to download. Right? So you start to see this assimilation that's going over a long period of time. It's seamless. It's the frog in the water syndrome. And really natural creation is woven into reality. Yeah? The moment you start talking about mathematics, geometry, and you create realities using mathematics, numbers, and geometry, you have now crossed the line into synthetic life. Okay, so we have organic creation and we have synthetic, and that is the battle. It's been the battle for eons between synthetic life and organic life. Okay, and we're in that war right now. We're in that war, and so we got to come back to nature, come back to what is real. And you experience the differentiation, Michael. You're always in front of screens, microphones, interviews, conferences, etc. You go out to nature just for a while and you completely transform. Yeah? Okay, so you've got the empirical evidence of what I'm talking about. We can't hear you, Michael.
This technological singularity, is that the same thing as the singularity that people like Ray Kurzweil talk about when artificial intelligence has reached that point where it can self-replicate and can really play a big role in kind of like taking over things? So is that what you're talking about, or is it something else?
Well, we're already connected to the unified field. And the techno god is trying to replicate that, mimic that, by creating a techno singularity, which is the mimic of the unified field. Yeah. Now you get to choose. Do you want to be a techno being or do you want to be natural? Yeah. You get to choose which path you want to take. So because of the path of evolution and where we're at, we're going to have empires that will come in. Empires will come in and they will meet us at the frequency where we're at now. Yeah. So we're not in an organic place. We've got processed foods in our shops. We have the medical industrial complex murdering everyone left, right, and center across the planet, for the eugenics program that's run by the medical industrial complex, backed by the military industrial complex, or branches of it. There's lots of good people in the military. Please don't take me out of context there. And which I'm working with and you're working with great people. And so we have a very dire situation where so many people are being mind controlled and brainwashed and assimilated into this technological singularity. And they think it's a wonderful thing. Yeah, because what the technology is doing, it's trying to mimic everything we're capable of. And what we are capable of is way more than any technology, even in the entire universe. Doesn't matter how advanced the technology in the entire universe is. Yeah, we are more advanced than that. We're more capable than that. Whatever it can do, we can do it, and we can do it a whole lot better. Right? This is just a piss take on Ben Rich, but it's true.
Okay, all right. Well, so people that are living in that kind of simulated reality in front of their computer screens or in front of their smart telephones and kind of like trying to live life that way, they are going to be, I guess, most susceptible to these energies that are coming in. And I guess it's all about getting them to become more dependent on the kind of like a medical pharmaceutical complex, and that's the way to free yourself from that, is to just quite simply, well, I guess, connect with the fractal source of yourself. I mean, through meditation or getting into nature.
Correct. Nature's the remedy, and the number one remedy in nature is your nature, your natural nature within. That's the number one remedy. And then coming back to the external nature that we experience outside of ourselves, which really is a reflection of what's within us. So, yeah, we're in an incredible reality. The problem is imperial structures have come here. Jealous gods have come here. And they're multidimensional in nature, these imperial structures. They're not just unidimensional. And they have taken over. This is a battle for this world, for dominion over this planet's been raging for millions of years, basically, because of the nature of this reality and the nature of us. We are the most prized possession. Our genetics are the most prized possession in the cosmos. That's why the trafficking of children, which the three admirals prioritised, and I told you in one of our quite a few months back, and I said they've hit the go button. Boom. And I made that announcement, and now we're seeing it play out throughout the world, that the trafficking of children and human trafficking, you know, of course, men and women, of course, but the children need to be the priority, because when we aim for the children, the other two get sorted out by default. Okay, so the three admirals prioritize the three children. The three admirals prioritize the children. They are for trafficking, human trafficking in the exopolitical space. We're seeing that spill into the public domain, and it's going to keep pushing. So it's the child trafficking situation that's going to expose this in a really, really big way. That's the golden nugget that the Naval Secret Space Program is aiming for, and rightly so. Yeah, rightly so. The children are our future. And that's why the Dark Lords have gone after our children. It's because of that, and it's really sad. So that is the priority. You're seeing it spill out now. I don't have to make a big song and dance about it week in, week out. I made the announcement months ago. Now you're seeing it play out. It's spilling into the public domain. And once that trafficking is exposed, that is the linchpin, that is the cornerstone that brings down the governments and all of the networking, the infrastructure of the cabal on the planet. You can come at it through drugs, you can come at it through finances, you can come at it through this, that, the other. No. What is the most sacred? That is our children. That is the most sacred. That's what you go for. And now the English government is being exposed. Don't worry, the Australian government, my government, yeah, we're coming for you too, mate. If you are a pedophile and you have violated the innocence of children, yeah, you're gone. You are gone. You better start reconciling with your actions and atoning within, because you're gone. Everyone is gone. Everyone who has ill intention is going to be removed from this realm because of the vibrational evolution. If someone wants to know what is going to happen, feel into the vibrational evolution of the planet, the frequency evolution of frequency, the what you feel in your relationship with this planet. Boom, that is the gold there, and the children is the focus, and it's going to bring the whole shebang down.
Yeah, that's good, because I know that is how the deep state, the controllers, manipulate politicians, is through setting them up to have these kind of
control file
escapades with children. Everything is captured on film or video, and they're blackmailed, and so this seems to be the way in which the system has been set up. I remember reading the book, The Franklin Cover-Up, where they described how the children are used to compromise politicians at all levels of government, and then they're controlled and they get promoted. I mean, this is the sad thing. The politicians that have integrity, that are ethical and say no to these kinds of kind of like sex parties with young people, they're not promoted. They're not promoted to the chairs of the different committees in the Congress or the parliaments, but the ones that are the party goers, they get promoted. They get up there. So yeah, to expose that, I think is going to do a lot. And yeah, a lot of people have been saying very similar things to you, that that whole network of pedophilia and how that is used to compromise people at all levels of government, corporate, military. Yeah, that's going to be exposed, and that can only be a good thing.
It's about why the children, and it's got to do with who we are as a species, our construct. We're full universal fractals. So, abusing the violation of innocence that they're imposing upon our children is absolutely abhorrent, disgusting, and it's not about just getting their rocks off. It's a deeply dark spiritual practice. The Christians would call it a satanic practice. Yeah. And it's just pure evil. It is pure evil, and here we're seeing in the UK that the father wants to go and rescue his daughter from a rape den and a rape gang, drugging her and raping her. And he's the one that gets arrested. How is that possible? Do you understand the madness? This is an inversion of all of our values, all of our virtues, all that is good in the world. Remember, Michael, I said to you, 31st of July last year, this diabolical energy came in. It's connected to King Charles. It went to that part of the world. I told you that. Remember that?
Yeah, you did.
Now we're seeing the fruits of that energy. We're seeing it. Yeah. And in accompanying that energy, that one that was diabolical that came in, there's light here. Remember yin and yang. Don't forget the nature of the universe. So there's all this light that's here, and we are the ones that are with that light, as well, to expose all of the horrors that are going on in our world. It's going to get really ugly. It's going to get a lot worse, because if you want the world to change, and you want it to change for the better, and you want it to change sooner rather than later, put at the top of the list of your priorities in life is to look in the mirror and do your inner work. That's it.
Right.
When we get that done, then the world changes, because we're here to change it.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Everyone's sitting back expecting the world to change, and they don't have to lift a finger. They don't have to confront anything, not even themselves. It ain't going to happen. Whoever's sitting back and doing nothing, sorry, folks, but you're heading towards something really horrible for yourself, because you're not getting on with it. You're in a boat that's filling up with water, and you could not be bothered getting the bucket and scoop that water out. You're in a sinking ship. So I really hope people are going to listen, and they're going to start looking inward as quickly as possible and as deep as possible, because we've got to sort ourselves out individually. Then we can change the world. You can't expect to change the world while you're broken.
Right.
The decisions you make from being broken, from what platform are you launching into your creative process on this planet? And traditionally someone is in an occult or a belief system, some religious ideology, some political ideology, some extraterrestrial ideology. It's all ideologies. They're all imperial and cultural ideological systems, right? I decided to put all that aside, no matter who it is or what it is, including the whole God narrative. And I just wanted to get my relationship with creation happening, because I know this is an intelligent universe, right? I just don't call it God for specific reasons, for very, very specific reasons, because I know exactly who and what that being is.
Well, that's very important right there. I mean, the kind of God narrative, because a lot of people now, because of these kind of crazy energies coming in and the lack of kind of purpose or security that many people are experiencing in life right now, not owning a home, jobs not being very satisfying. People are turning to religion. There's been a growth in religion, especially in the United States, with evangelical Christianity has grown. Yeah. But this whole God complex, I mean, is that a step in the right direction, or is that really something that's going to kind of like sidetrack people down a path that's going to embroil them for many lifetimes?
Yeah. In the short term, it can be used as a stepping stone if you're coming out of something really difficult, because, the whole God versus the devil dialectic has been created by the hologram of the gods, and our world has been assimilated into that dialectic. Yeah. So when we look at the world around us, that's all people see is that dialectic. And it's so much bigger than that. We're so much more than that. So yes, if you really bunker down into this whole God narrative, yeah, you are heading into dimensional realms that are all about control. Because God requires you to pray, to worship it. Yeah. And the natural prime creative intelligence that is this universe does not do those sorts of things, does not ask you to worship it in any way, shape or form. Conscious relationship, yeah. Healthy reverence. I have a healthy reverence for you, Michael. Okay? Doesn't mean I worship you, right? People have a healthy reverence for me. Doesn't mean they worship me. Yeah? I'm in conscious relationship with this planetary realm, with the solar being, the galactic being, the cosmic universal being. So it's about having natural relationship, and that's all it is. If I can just say that, that's all it is, natural relationship. So everything else is politics.
Establishing a healthy relationship, respect, rather than reverence for other beings, especially when it comes to these God entities that are described in the different religious traditions. That's the long-term solution. But of course, people maybe need that stepping stone of going to a church or to a mosque or to a temple to kind of like start to believe in something. And then at some point, they hopefully will start to understand that the real being worth respect and reverence is within the fractal source, or the fractal connection with all of the universe.
True. And, this is the one thing that really boggles my mind about Christians all around the world. And I was christened a Greek Orthodox, right? And attended a Catholic boys' high school. So I know a bit about it. And my bloodline, which I shared with you earlier about my ancestor in, 1347 or 1437, one of the two, was the priestly king of Greece back in, 1347. That was my ancestor right there. So, I've got it in my blood, right? It's in my blood. So when it comes to the whole God thing, what it is an imperial narrative. We know that Constantine created the Christian religion in 300 AD. Well, he kind of ratified it. It was already in progress of being created before then. And the truth of the matter is, if you abide by the Bible in the way of perceiving that as the ultimate truth, then you're buying into an imperial narrative, an imperial religious organization. It is not reality. Reality is when you come back out and some of the true teachings of Christ made it through, and it's the kingdom of heaven is within, of course. And when we go within, then we connect to the unified field, and that's how you can retrieve knowledge and wisdom from creation itself. So you're not going through any other sources, direct to the unified field, nothing between you and creation.
Okay, that's very good. Well, I want to shift now to this mystery drone phenomenon that's being seen in the US and around the world. Thousands of sightings of these mystery drones, and government and military officials are kind of playing dumb on it, saying they don't know what they are. Now, I know you did a presentation recently, and I got to see a little bit of it, and you talk about the 4 levels of the mystery drone. So you want to kind of walk us through, what is this?
Still got it on my whiteboard here from last week's webinar.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Okay, so the mystery drones. I might use it actually to explain it, if that's okay. If we can do that instead.
Yeah. Okay, so
cool?
just go to.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that. Let me get this guy out of the way. The audio might be a bit different because I'm further away from the mic, but it still should be good. All right. And so what we've got here is, how are we going to do this? I'll have to just use my camera tilt. Sorry, folks. Just let me do that. Okay. So we've got our star family that made an announcement to the planetary establishment somewhere around October, late October. They made an announcement. Oh, it was actually before then, the initial announcement. It was early October, around somewhere real early October. Anyway, that they were going to come and make a show. They were going to show themselves because they have to do it. They have to announce that they're going to do that. It's part of being respectful, loving, caring, and also abiding by natural law. LORE law, the real law, not LAW, that's God's law. That's a synthetic one. All right, so you've got Starfam that came in initially, and they were told, they were warned, and then everybody was warned. Even Musk was in on it. Everyone knew about it. And he warned about the drone swarms that were coming because he knew what the response was going to be. So let's say these oval ones at the top are our star family making themselves seen, felt, making their presence felt. Well, I'm associated with the universal, what we call it doesn't have a traditional label because everybody just works off energy. But if we are to approach it the way we do in this world and we put labels on things, then the closest label, and vibrationally speaking as well, is the Universal Space Council. Okay, so that's just a label that has been created for our minds to be able to grasp what we're actually interacting with. Yeah, like a stepping stone. Okay, it's a gathering of our star families, and it's all the star systems, star nations, and planetary nations that live in the natural way of love and the natural way of life and the natural way of light, not the synthetic. Yeah, so the way of life does not operate from numbers and geometry. You can play with them if you want, but we don't build realities from them, and the natural life is woven, and it weaves in a way that doesn't adhere to mathematical templates, right? It flows with the purity of intention and the natural unfoldment of life, natural evolution. So the moment you put numbers onto something, the moment you put geometry onto something, yeah, now you're trying to quantify. Like I drew an oval for our people, and I drew a square for the exotic tech from the aerospace tech giants, right? That's 2 different vibrations. That's a control grid, and masculine in flavor, that's more feminine in flavor. Do you see what I mean? So when you look at things, it's like you look at the pattern of Venus around the sun, and it's a 5-petaled flower. But someone who's addicted to numbers and geometry will come along and say, no, it's a pentagram. Okay, so people who have this addiction to quantification will always imprint over natural life numbers and geometry, but they're imprinting it over natural life. Life came first, numbers and geometry came way after. Okay, so, and I know people are addicted to numbers and geometry. It's a tough thing because we've been born into a system of it. Okay, and now it's like getting rid of a drug addiction. All right, so we realised that life came first and numbers and geometry came way after. Well, you know, the majority of life is operating from the natural way of love, life, and light. And a small portion is operating in a synthetic way using numbers, geometry, and technology rather than natural conscious relationship. You know, the reason you use technology is because your ability to do things for yourself is atrophied. And the more you use technology, the more it atrophies. What can happen, though, is when we go into the technological singularity, it can act as a reminder of what we're capable of. And that's happening for a lot of people. The day will come when we will not be able to use this technology. There's going to be times when we won't be able to use it. And that'll be, it's like, I challenge anyone to do this and know these things for yourself, okay? I challenge anyone to, for a week, to remove themselves from society and technology, to go out in nature and be with nature for a week and see what happens. You'll notice people will start to go crazy on the second day, if not the first day. It's like a drug addict who has to detox. Yeah, you're literally coming off an addiction. It's an addiction because it is like a drug. It's a form of a drug because of the frequencies and the dopamine hits that we get, etc., etc. How many people are addicted to sensational information, for example? You know, ordinary information, and then, oh, that's juicy, or that's nice, you know, the juicy drama. And it's ramping up. It's ramping up and it's ramping up. So when we realize this and come back to this scenario playing out, we have our star families that some of them, because it's a very large space, there are, and that includes, this includes star family, this includes for some people the Federation. Yeah, let's say one of these circles is the Federation. Call it the Federation, right? One group. Then you got the USC, which is the you could call it the Universal Space Council, is what I'm referring to. Oops, I can spell. And then over here we have Federation of Worlds. This is the Galactic Federation of Light. It's actually, I'm going to do something different here, just to get more accurate about all these things. So you've got the Galactic Confederation of Light and Federation of Worlds. And here you have, let's say, adjunct imperial structures. Like, there's that many of them. Think of how many councils do we have on the planet? How many councils do you have in your country? How many organizations do you have just in your country alone? Say the United States, one country, right? So you're trying to map out a galaxy with billions of stars, billions and billions and billions and billions of stars, with all these different groups, organizations, councils, hierarchy. Like, it is phenomenal how many there are. So let's just add that as a group here. These are the main ones that we want to consider right now. These other ones are going to come into place soon. Okay. So the Galactic Confederation of Light has to do with a conglomerate of federations. Yeah. This one is the Federation of Worlds. We're familiar with that one. And Lyran, Pleiadian sort of thing. Didn't spell that right. Always get Pleiades wrong. And Galactic Confederation of Light. So this is one federation, one. And the Galactic Confederation is a conglomerate of many federations that abide by the light of the galactic realm. So once we start getting into the structure of life on a galactic level, it gets very complex, simply because of the volume of life that we're dealing with. That's all. So you got to come out of labels, and you just got to get used to operating with energy. Yeah, like you do, Michael. You have to read through so many things, right? And I'm sure if you operate anything like I do, you pick up a piece of paper and you can just start reading it. Sometimes you don't even have to read it. You feel the energy of it. You get the gist of it. And you decide there and then at the very beginning whether you're going to go further into it or you're just going to drop it. That's your intuition at work. So when it comes to working out organizations, that's why I say to you, the Universal Space Council, it's not their label. It's a label I'm giving it, and the USC is actually suggesting I give it. It's one we came up with, which acts like a bridge for the human mind. Yeah? To bridge between a label that people can conceptually grasp, yeah? But then once you go in behind that label, you get to your star families. Yeah, and it's really interesting because there was people in my community that said, George, you know, we've gone in behind this label and there's something really dark and gooey and yucky there. I said, yeah, because you tapped into the mimic. Okay? So for everything that is good in life and real in life, let's just be general now and just call it the dark side. The dark side is going to make a mimic of it. It's just their way. It's I don't know how else to explain it. It's how they are. It's their way of life. It's really weird, but it's their way of life. It's something we're not used to. We prefer harmony. We prefer love, honor, and respect. They prefer to mimic and control and subjugate and dominate, right? So the Federation of Worlds is but one federation. The Galactic Confederation of Light is a conglomerate of many federations within our galactic realm. Because don't forget, we're not just talking one dimension, we're talking a multi-dimensional structure of a galactic reality, right? So while you see billions and billions and billions and billions of stars on our level, when you look out, now imagine that again and again and again and again in other dimensions. That's the reality of our galactic reality, right? So you can imagine the scope and the magnitude of life that we're dealing with. So here we have our star families that have turned up, and then what they did after notifying, and they're all working together, right? Some of them have differences of opinion, but we're not going to go to war with each other over those differences of opinion. It's silly. So drew the boxes there to represent the exotic tech from the aerospace tech giants. Now, this can be broken up into groups. Okay, so because you'll have the aerospace tech giants, which are more aligned with our star fams, all right? And then you'll have sections of the aero exotic tech space giants that are aligned with the cabal and more negatively inclined imperial structures. So we saw two distinct different kinds of energies of technologies that were released during this drone expose, if you want to call it that. And then they had meetings taking place at the same time, because they always say, like, you know, how can we use this? How can we make the most of this? I mean, they're going to do a display. How can we use it to our advantage? So there were multiple agendas running at the same time. Another one of the agendas that played out, and I saw the photograph of this, and I wish I could find it now, but I think it got taken from my phone, to be honest. But I had the photograph of these transport craft, and what I saw on the side was AV, and the X was like that, right? AVX, so Aerial Vehicle Company X. It's one of Elon's, it's one of Musk's transport vehicles. So they came out, and they had a meeting, a gathering of movers and shakers, very wealthy, very powerful, elite people, and these were a display. They were just doing flying displays. There was cargoes, there was all sorts, and they were really working out also not only the technology, because these things had transponders on the four corners, and there's one there on the other side. So you got the 4 pods on the corners of each of these vehicles driving them. Blue energy, by the way. Interesting. They had a blue light to them. And anyway, they were doing flyovers to show the wealthy elite and the shakers and the movers and shakers of a display, a show of vehicles that where they want to introduce to us as transport and freight vehicles. And another thing they're trying to do is map out all the freight lines in the sky, in the atmosphere, and they want to ban us. So part of it, the cabal is using it to their advantage to come in over the top of us. So now there's rules and regulations above us. So we can no longer, sorry about the sweat, it's humid like crazy here in the middle of summer. I live in a subtropical place and it's so humid. And they want to clamp down. They want that pressure down on us now, you know, and take control of the airspace above us. So you can't even now just put a drone up in the sky to take photos of your house without a license. You know what I mean? So it's part of that clamping down on our humanity. So all of this was taking place. Then you had conventional military with more advanced conventional military. They wanted to come out to play and show their wares. But these guys down here, they did a lot of reconnaissance work as well. So there was all these missions waiting to be played, to be given the green light, and they were. So during this whole drone thing, there was a lot of reconnaissance that took place. There was missions. There was actually assassination missions. There was missions on working out tunnel systems. It was a very, very big operation on many levels, and it was the more advanced military drone technology there. Not exotic, but just conventional drones, but more advanced technology in that space. Then another layer is we had the drones, conventional drones, right? Lots of them. So I've put this red arrow there, and the reason I've put that there is because where that question mark is, why is it that the press is only focusing on these two bottom ones, and then from there to there, it's getting left out? No one in the press is talking about anything above this line here. Everybody else is from this line down.
The exotic technology. So you mentioned this freight or that cargo craft that you saw that had that kind of X insignia. So Elon Musk, you think that this is a company that actually was set up by Elon Musk that is building exotic craft that's propelled using like anti-gravity torsion fields, that Elon Musk is already doing this?
Yeah, that was a display, AVX. You're going to have AV whatever, Lockheed Martin, AVLM, right? So AV's aerial vehicle, that's the government's statutory declaration for vehicles like that. You have to have that, like a taxi or a plane or whatever. So it's going to be AV, and then you'll have the brand, whatever it is.
Okay, so there's 4 levels to the drone phenomenon, and it's only the bottom 2 levels, the drones, you know, the kind of conventional drones and the advanced military drones that people are paying attention to, but the exotic drones that are built and operated by these corporations, they're not being discussed, and of course the star families and the different extraterrestrial organizations are not being discussed.
That's right.
Okay, very, very, very important. Okay, so I wanted now to talk about this incident which is related to the drones, and that is this incident involving this Cybertruck bombing in Las Vegas, where a Green Beret produced a email manifesto where he said that China is behind the mystery drone phenomenon, and that this was information he was wanting to share. Now, the email has been shown to be genuine. This guy was an active Green Beret. So, what's going on as far as China being involved in the drone phenomenon?
So, I've been living in the Chinification of Australia for the last 15 to 20 years. It's really been quite amazing to see what has transpired. I went to Auckland a few years ago, and there was no Maori in Auckland. I didn't see any of them, and barely a Pakeha there as well. It was all either Indian or Asian, and I'm not saying this to be racist. I'm just stating facts, right? How you respond to that's up to you. But I'm just telling you what I bear witness to. And the same is happening in our country here, and I believe the same is now happening in many other countries around the place. So this forced multiculturalism is not a good thing because it's unnatural, forced. Anyway, China is one of the superpowers. They have their own off-world federation organization, which I don't know how to pronounce the name of. But when I track the energy of it, unfortunately, I don't feel good. And I always end up with insectoids every time at the top of that hierarchy, that power structure. Every single time I end up with insectoids. So that to me is what's behind that power structure. And it's, wow. It's like, how much do I say? What can I get away with saying without getting in trouble? You hear a lot of bad press about reptilians, right? And you hear a lot of bad press about other groups. Like a lot of people saying bad things about Nordics, for example. Well, there's good natural Nordics and synthetic Nordics. Yeah. And within the natural Nordic, there's ones that are more benevolent than others. In the synthetic, there's ones that are more benevolent than others. So we've got to be careful not to generalize too much. But the point I'm making here is there's, in evolution, as far as evolution goes, the paramount incarnational structures, the insectoids were the first ones. Exoskeletal because of the environment, the ecosystem of the galaxy at the time. Now, when it started to soften and it wasn't so harsh, it was a flip from exoskeletal to endoskeletal, and the first incarnational avatars were Draco because they still had that hard exo skin, of scaly sort of skin. And then it continued to soften over evolution. Over time, became the reptilians, branched out of the Dracos. And then out of the reptilians, and now the Dracos reptilians was one branch, and the other one was the raptors. So when you look at birds, when you look at a hawk or an eagle, you're looking at a Draco. That's further down the evolutionary path. But they're all Draco. Yeah? Raptors, right? So, and then, but what happened was the other branch, the reptilian branch that came off the Dracos in evolution, started introducing more of the mammalian side of things. And once the mammalian side of things got introduced to the raptors, that's when the feathers started coming into play in evolution. So this is a long history, but the point I'm trying to make here is you go back to the first incarnational structures, and they were exoskeletal. So we're talking about insectoids. They're the most ancient paramount incarnational structures in our galactic realm, actually in the entire cosmos, to be honest. So when you go track back the imperial structure that China and other countries have now aligned themselves with, they're involved in that, and it's really awful and really unpleasant. Now, when I look at other organizations, they have other traits that I'm not comfortable with. You can look at the Federation and going back to the Pleiades and then going back to Lyra and then the whole origins of the Anunnaki, where do they come from, Nibiru, all this. So you've got all different groups that we're dealing with here. And the real point here is with the China issue is these insectoids, that while there's benevolent insectoids, the ones they're aligned with don't like us. And they want to control and they want to dominate us and use us as a resource. Way worse than other groups do. So my recommendation is that we have to be really, really careful of what China's doing with these drones, because it is reconnaissance for planning strikes, unfortunately. And I just don't want to see the conflict between, the federations out there, the galactic groups out there, political bodies, bringing the conflict here. As above, so below. I really hope it doesn't come to that. And I'm entrusting that the allegiance, the alliance that Trump has with the Galactic Federation of Worlds is going to be that that little bit of extra oomph to say, hey guys, you might want to rethink what you want to do, because I can tell you now, if the three admirals have to come in and step in, they're gonna really bring this to an end very quickly because of their capabilities. But they know everything. They know everything. They know exactly what everybody's doing. There is not even a god that can come here and they won't know what they're doing, because of who and what they have become, the technology that they're using, and because they're in conscious relationship with galactic creational intelligence itself. So anything that exists in the galactic realm, they see it. Doesn't matter how you try to hide yourself, you're going to be seen.
Okay, so you would agree then that some of the mystery drones that are being seen near military bases, near airports and all of that, do belong to China. Now, some have said, Stephen Greer has said that these are actually drones that are owned by the deep state, but they are produced in China and they were launched from a Chinese submarine. So, yeah, you want to...
I don't know about that for a fact, that detail. However, I can't rule that out, because as you were talking about it, I did not feel, it's like this could be a real possibility.
Okay, all right. So this Cybertruck explosion in front of Nevada and the guy in front of the Trump Tower in Nevada, in Las Vegas. Now, was this a kind of like part of a psyop designed to make people aware that the Chinese are involved in the whole drone phenomenon, or was this kind of like an attempt by white hats to reveal what's really going on?
Whenever you bring China into the equation and Russia into the equation, there's a group that's trying to create global conflict. And the reason they want to create global conflict, and I've been saying this for years, is that it's a religious ideology. They want to create Armageddon on the planet, which will then usher in the return of their God. That's the ideology of these people. So that's what they're trying to create. They're trying to create Armageddon on the planet. And a lot of people saying, I'm getting out of here, to have fun with it. But I'm staying to work through this, because I've got commitments here to this planetary being and to our humanity as a whole. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying, and I'm here to do some pretty serious stuff, and I will continue on with that.
Right. So you've described a kind of pretty complex situation going on with 4 levels of drones up there that are being seen. But what's happening is that the US military and other militaries around the world are pretty much standing down. They're not shooting at the drones. Is that because the white hats are kind of aware of this deep state agenda to like confuse, conflate, and even start a war?
Oh, it's beautiful, really, when you look at the way the white hats are operating. And it's a term that a lot of people don't like anymore. Okay, yin and yang, the white hats, the dark hats. I mean, it's the easiest label to use right now. So, these guys are operating in a way where they get the message from our star families and genuine organizations, and the good guys out in the cosmos, like, we're going to show ourselves. Okay. So they tell the whole military to stand down, because they're in conjunction. I mean, Donald Trump was groomed by Nixon and co in that space for decades. He's been groomed for this job, for this position for decades, to be the go-between, to be the front man for the Federation in our world, and for America to become the hub of the dispersion of all the technologies. That's why they want to bring manufacturing back, bunker down, build the borders, because they're the ones that are going to be dispersing the technology to the rest of the planet. That's the game plan with the Federation, and Trump to become world president, if that's a thing that will ever happen. But that's his wet dream. So it's kind of like, now we're dealing with, just give me a moment, Michael, because this is big energy, because I'm revealing a lot. So I hope you can understand there's energies that don't like what I'm doing. Yeah. So we're at a point now where the white hats are just like, Trump's like, if they're coming out of a garage and they go into a garage, we can see them. So basically, the deep state brought its toys out to play. They got to sit back and just watch it all. Watch where they're coming from, watch where they're going to, analyze the technologies that they have. So the deep state couldn't help themselves. And that couldn't help themselves is their downfall. It's the end, because the white hats just got to observe them in action, to observe their technologies. And, you know, you got to understand in the background too, there's a lot of integration going on now between the dark and white hats, because a lot of the dark hats are now coming over to the white hats. There's a big shift happening. But now they know where all their installations are. They know exactly the level of technology they've got, and it's game over.
And the white hats are being helped by the Star family, by the Galactic Federation. So the Galactic Federation is more hands-on. I mean, you described a difference between the different Star family groups. That the Galactic Federation is more hands-on. The Galactic Confederation is more kind of like more a spiritual organization, more raise the planetary consciousness, and you know, all the rising tide lift all boats. They take that approach as opposed to being specifically interventionist.
Yeah, exactly. So the Confederation of Light is a step further back. The Galactic Federation, and specifically the Nordic group from the Pleiades, was the one that was chosen, not because of political preferences. Oh, this is a big story. Do you remember I told you about the origins? Because I want to explain something here in the way, just something quickly before I go into the story. Okay. Just want to share with you something real quick. Let me get the camera. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Jess. All right. So here we have the USC. Here we have the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Okay. Now, here we have MIC, military, okay, industrial complex, and not medical, even though they're intertwined. So think of it like this. You've got this working here, you've got the USC here, you've got the three admirals, right? And here you've got the naval SSP and the Air Force SSP, right? Or AF SSP. And then here you've got, again, naval SSP and a much smaller branch of the Air Force SSP. Okay, so the three admirals are directly linked here, which is then influencing here. Yeah, these guys are then in turn putting the pressure in this space here. So these guys here who have been in contact with and these ones here with the cabal, let's just call it that, dark hats for now, right? They are cornered because the three admirals have been putting the pressure on the Galactic Federation of Worlds, along with the USC, along with all, you know, Galactic Confederation of Light. Everyone has said, because that's why I said to you, the admirals have hit the go button. I said that a few months ago on your panel discussion, I think it was, Michael, with Alex and JP. Oh, wow, what incredible people they are. Such a good time, seriously. And now they're putting the pressure on because everyone has felt, anyone who's in connection with the collective soul of humanity, with the intelligence that is this planet, which is what these guys will operate on, not so much the Galactic Federation of Worlds, but definitely all this structure, is in total conscious relationship with the intelligence of this planet. Now they have felt into it, so have I, and you can do it, anyone watching this can do it, feel into the collective soul of humanity and then ask the question, is humanity ready for disclosure? And we are. We have been for some time. It's the way you go about it is the issue. So when you have organisations saying we're not ready, it's going to create too much disaster and all this, that's from a very limited perspective. It's not from the big picture of life. And so we are ready. So the admirals have now put the pressure on everybody to make it happen. They hit the go button a few months ago. And I told you the children are the priority. You're going to see all of the pedophilia on this planet get exposed in such a significant way. And we're also seeing the push in disclosure happening now. So the 3 admirals have taken full responsibility. And these are our people. These are Earth-born people, not hybrids. Yeah, even though they've gone through changes now after that big trip they took. And but they are natural. These are the most authoritative, the 3 most authoritative people that we have, conventionally speaking, right? Because there's others that have got way more authority than the admirals in this world. And I'm talking about people like you and I, Michael. There's beings incarnated on this planet that have more authority here than any of these organizations, basically. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. And these admirals are putting the pressure on everybody. So they have the natural authority. Now, when it comes to the Galactic Federation of Worlds, they were chosen because you've got to go back to the Nordics. You've got to go back to the origin point of the Nordics. And there's natural Nordics and there's synthetic Nordics. And I'm going to the origin point of the synthetic Nordics, which was the Dracos, and they had a breakaway group which went around marauding all the best genetics in the galaxy to create this ultimate avatar. And they created a blonde-haired, green-eyed, blue-eyed, angelic-looking avatar. They started incarnating into them. The Draco purists got really angry, called that an abomination. It broke away, the faction of these synthetic Nordics, and they got like Pico and Femtech running their bodies and in their society. And they went off. And they continue to develop. They genetically created tiers of Nordics. So you have your worker Nordics, you have your next rank Nordics, and it goes all the way to these angelic beings. And the Draco Lord on top of that, I'm telling you the truth about the galactic history now, it's going to freak people out. The Draco Lord who ran that operation fought his way through his empire and all his different levels of in the beginning like Nordic structures, but then others, they started genetically creating other beings. We're now talking a multidimensional structure, and that Draco Lord went on to become what you know as the God in the Bible. And I know this is horrendously bad to hear for so many people, but you don't understand. I didn't finish saying what I said before about God and Christ and all that. Basically, Christ warned everybody about the Pharisees and their deities. And what have we ended up? What has become of all good Christian people today? They've ended worshipping a version of Christ that the Pharisees have handed to them, and they're worshipping the deity of the Pharisees. So this is what has befallen Christianity, right? Because they're forgotten. They're cut off from what is natural Christ and what is natural creational intelligence. They're worshipping another version of Christ that's been handed to them by the Pharisees, and they're worshipping the deity of the Pharisees. So this whole situation when it comes to religion, and that's just a Christian, it's the same problem for all other religions, right? So we find ourselves in a very, very seriously diabolical situation when all this starts to change, right? Because, you know, when it comes to Christianity, like I said, I've got it in my DNA, yeah? So what does it mean? It's the heart of the Christos within. It's already inside you. It's part of your soul structure, right? So if you're worshipping a Jesus character outside of you, sorry, it's not the real thing. And even Christ said the kingdom of heaven is within. So why are you worshipping an entity outside of you? You know? So this is what's really, really critical here, because when all of this plays out, all of these, it's like, call it this. I'll tell you what I'm calling it, what we are calling it in our meetings of global management that I'm already involved in. Yeah, behind the scenes. It's the re-education, the re-educating of humanity. What needs to happen.
Well, what you've just described there, that actually does explain why the US military is standing down and not shooting at these drones that are flying over military bases, or near airports and urban centers and so forth, because this is, and the military is just playing dumb, saying, their spokesperson is saying, oh, well, we don't know what they are. They're not a national security threat. And members of Congress are saying, well, why aren't you taking action? They're flying over sensitive military bases and leading to airport closures. We got sources telling us they're from Iran. We got sources telling us they're from China. But the military is standing down, and you've given us an explanation because the three admirals are communicating with the different branches of the SSPs, the Navy, the Air Force or Space Force, SSPs, positive and negative factions, and saying, stand down. We don't want there to be a shooting war happening here.
Yeah, think of this area here as the dark side. So there's a dark side of the Air Force SSP, which was the first dark side SSP, and that was Nazi, created by the Nazis, the Nazi faction, right? And which is the Sixth Reich, and I operated in that space. I'm talking from first-hand direct experience, right? This is the Sixth Reich. The Deep State is the Fifth Reich. The United States, after Project Paperclip, became the Fourth Reich. Okay? And now what they're trying to do is create a Christian Reich in the United States and around the world. So you've got to be careful of all this stuff. It's really diabolical the way they're operating it, okay? Now we have the benevolent Air Force SSP and the benevolent Naval SSP operating here under the auspice of the three admirals and all of our star families. So the USC, what it represents is our star families. Star families, okay? That's our people. And the admirals have reconnected with that. Now, I want to finish talking about the Galactic Federation of Worlds, because this is a really, really big deal, right? Because they're good people, okay? You just got to understand the frequencies they're operating in. Now, the Nordics, after many, many generations of these Nordics from the Draco faction that broke off, there's groups within that woke up through natural attrition, natural evolution. They became aware. A group of these Nordics went over to the Lyran constellation, and with the Anunnaki coming into Lyra and these Nordics coming into Lyra, there ended up being a bit of a conflict in the Lyrian Wars, yeah? And it was a bit of an issue. And you had reptilians fighting it out with lion beings, and somewhere in that space, they did a genetic hybrid between a lion being and a reptilian, right? And guess what that is? That's your cat. That's the felines, right? They're different from the original lion beings. I'm seeing an arrow walking across the screen there, right? The cursor, right? So whenever you see a cat or a feline being with a slit in its eye, that's the hybrid. Whenever you see a lion or a cat with a round pupil like ours, that's the original, that's the organic. They're not the hybrids. Okay? So this is a very, very important thing to know, because anyone who has a cat will tell you how their superiority complex is off the charts, right? It's a very big issue, right? And so here you have a group of the Nordics that were created. Their origins come from this Draco origin way back. I'm not trying to make them look bad. I'm just giving raw data here. Okay? This isn't a political assassination attempt or anything. In fact, I'm actually really giving them good credit here, because these are the guys who woke up. These are the guys who are coming home to what is the natural way of love, the natural way of light. They then left the Lyrian and went over to the Pleiades. Right? And because the Pleiades is the star system that was more responsible for the environment and the ecosystem here than any other. They were responsible for our trees, our plants, and some of the animals. The Sirian star system is the actual main one that's responsible for this entire realm. The Pleiades, and the moon comes from the Pleiades. That's why the moon ended up going around, being placed around this planet after it was lost in the conflict for the solar system when Empire came to take it over. Oh, there's so much to talk about. But anyway, I want people to understand these Nordics that we're dealing with from the Galactic Federation of Worlds, that they want our best interests at heart. They're doing what they are doing because it's the right thing to do. Okay. Now, the problem we have is their awareness of us and who we are as a species and what this original intention for this planet is. They don't have that. They're learning it from people like you and me now. Okay. And you're talking about a giant imperial organization, so it ain't going to shift policies in a hurry. But anyway, this is where we're at. They don't remember who and what we are. Even though they're trying to do the right thing, the three admirals are working with the Galactic Federation of Worlds. They're putting pressure to make this disclosure happen because they don't have the capacity to connect to the soul of humanity. They do not have the capacity to connect to the pure intelligence of this planet. Okay? So they need people like us. And there's other beings out there like the admirals, like us, and we're having meetings with all these beings saying, hey guys, you need to realize something here. We appreciate what you're doing and it's awesome, but there's so much more than what you guys realize. That's where we're at. So I hope this helps people to give a little bit. It's a bit messy, but it's just me coming on and just mapping it out on a board with a texter. Okay, it's nothing official or anything like that. Just to give people a bit of background, an idea, and a bit of a gist of what's going on. Because once you get this, when you look out at all the happenings in the world, you're going to see, just like my 3 levels of imposition, everything's going to be in it.
Okay, well, that does help us get an idea of the big picture. So there is a disclosure plan that's unfolding.
Yeah.
The military is standing down to allow everyone to show their stuff in terms of all these drones. And people have been describing the drones as car size. But now we're getting new information, and you've actually said it yourself as well, that they're going to be soon we're going to start seeing bigger and bigger drones. And JP actually, he was taken on a mission, or he was exposed to a facility near MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, where he saw 3 cigar-shaped ships, and he was told that these ships are going to be next. The people are going to see these 50-meter long cigar-shaped ships, and that's what's coming next. That this is what we're witnessing now with the drones is all part of the disclosure plan.
So I agree with that, and because the Air Force SSP has to start showing itself and showing its wares, right? And when you look at a cigar-shaped craft, right, and it's elongated, when you look at it end on, okay, you're going to see this, okay, and it's going to have like light coming out the end of it. So you're going to see just the end. It's going to look like an orb, right? So have you seen video clips of an orb and you've got all these little craft coming out? Right, out of a single orb. It's because some orbs can do that. It could be a portal. It could be a much larger craft, like a, what's that one from Doctor Who? A TARDIS effect, right? The TARDIS effect. But some of them is you're seeing the end of a cigar and they're all coming out the sides through portals, right? So it's not just a single orb and they're coming out of that orb. You're seeing the end of the cigar and they're all coming out the ports on the cigar. So just look out for that in the future when you're looking at craft. I'm trying to give people as many little tidbits as I can, so when they're looking up at the skies, they've got some sort of idea of what they're looking at. So I'm giving you the big picture background and also little on the ground tidbits as well.
As cigar-shaped craft go in general, I mean, I've heard that some of them are like reverse engineered, or should I say retrofitted submarines. Some of the cigar-shaped ships belong to the Nordics or to these kind of positive extraterrestrials, and some say they connect to reptilians, that the reptilians from the inner Earth have these ships. So what's going on with the cigar-shaped ships? Is this like a universal design that all the species use?
I'll tell you what it is about the cigar-shaped one. It has to do with the technology that they're using. And you think, oh yeah, no, it has to do with transport technology. If you've got a spaceship that is really big and wide. What kind of a Stargate do you need for that? It's pretty big, right? It's a big Stargate that you need for that. Okay, so what if you made it that wide but made it longer so you can go through Stargates and take big payloads through a much smaller diameter Stargate? So it really, in the beginning, was about efficiency. Okay, well, what I want to draw here is, it's really interesting because you have this, I'll use black for this. When you look at the cigars, that big, right? And some of them have got windows, and then these gaps, some of them have got different levels of windows on the side. But anyway, so you have this bit that comes in, right, and then it comes down to that, and then you got the nose cone. Right, and this is I'm sharing with you the one that I saw in Adelaide. Okay, and that comes down like that, and that way. So basically, we're looking at a blunt pencil. That's basically what it looked like in the sky, and the colouring, right, was similar to this, and I really mean that, was similar to that. Yeah, and this part of it, that was like a dirty brown and a black, just like the end of that pencil. And this bit was like a dirty beige, like a dirty stone, dirty sandstone sort of look, if you know what I mean. And it looked dirty. You know, you've seen like Firefly or those sorts of TV sci-fi series, and you look at some ships and some look new and sparkly, and then some look really tired and old and dirty. Yeah, that's what this one looked like. And I was in the Adelaide Hills, and I was driving down the hills to the top of McGill Road, and I was watching it once I got past the Scenic Hotel, and I was coming down Norton Summit Road, and I got to the top of McGill Road. There it was, straight over Adelaide, and I totally freaked out. I'm like, what's going on? Because I got abducted the night before. And I could see this thing, you know, and I pulled over the side of the road, got out the car. I just left my door hanging open because I was in amazement. And I'm looking out at this craft, and I'm looking at all the people driving down, and I'm watching their faces, and no one is seeing it. No one else is seeing it. And I'm like, what's going on here? So I drove down McGill Road, and as I'm driving, it's still just hovering there. And as I got closer to the city, it then just pop, it just disappeared. It went cloaked, interdimensional. It didn't fly away physically. It just disappeared instantly. And this thing was huge. I'm gonna guess it was probably about 2 to 3 kilometers in length, given the size of the CBD and how it hung over the sky. Yeah, this thing was big, and it was probably diameter would have been about, I don't know, maybe 100 to 200 meters diameter, about 100 meters diameter, maybe, probably 2, yeah, up to 2.
And you're saying there were no reports of it? I mean, only you were seeing it?
Well, I saw it, but wait for this. So, because I was going down to the Quantum Bookstore in North Adelaide, right, Melbourne Street, North Adelaide, and I was going down there, and as I got to Melbourne Street and I was getting out of my car, I heard this almighty noise, loud, and I looked up, and there was a Harrier jet going real slow over the top of me and just hanging over there. And I'm like, well, that validated it for me, because I'm like, it's against the law for any Air Force to fly over a CBD or a populated area like that. For starters, why would it be there? There's no reason for it to be there, except their scanners picked it up and they sent the plane there to check it out. So the technology in the Air Force picked up the presence of this craft. I saw it, and when I went there, I've got a Harrier jet exactly where the craft was, hovering over the top of me. That is no accident. That is no coincidence. They saw it.
Okay, so essentially you're saying the cigar-shaped craft are designed and used by many different species because they are kind of like the optimal configuration to be able to use stargates or portals to be able to travel long distances in our galaxy.
Yeah, and large haulage. over long distances. Yeah.
Okay. So the reptilians would use these as well. Now, before we began, you told me about a diplomatic correspondence letter that you got from the Dracos. So now would be a good time for you to just kind of like...
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.